Back on the road, let's discover Italy. This time I'm in Piedmont, in Stresa, one of the most popular destinations of Lake Maggiore. Today we go discover the beautiful Borromean Islands, especially the Isola Bella and the Isola Madre, a perfect combination of art and nature in a stunning place. Also beloved by Hemingway, who set one of his most famous novels in this heavenly place, A Farewell to Arms. In the second half of the 19th century, Stresa and the Borromean Islands were one of the most popular destinations in Italy. Lord Byron, Stendhal, Charles Dickens, Hemingway and many other famous personalities were attracted by the beauty of the shores of Lake Maggiore.
Isola Bella, fermata di Isola Bella.
The Isola Bella looks like a large vessel sailing the waters of Lake Maggiore, drenched in a magical atmosphere. Today the Borromean Palace occupies most of the surface of the island. It's the result of 400 years of work. Across the years, the best artists have transformed this desert sphere into an icon of the Baroque art in Italy.
On the second floor of the palace, there are over 50 rooms used by the descendants of the family, the Princes Borromeo. So this has always been a private summer dwelling, and still is.
How many rooms are in the palace?
In total, there are more than 100 rooms, but open for visits just 30. The most beautiful, of course. We are now entering the reception floor. We are about to discover the treasure of the palace.
We begin with the treasure.
Yes, because this part is really beautiful and the best preserved of the palace. Now, I'm going to show you the gallery of the paintings. You're about to see over 150 pieces of art. This room is original, untouched since ever, with all the paintings and furniture right where you see them. It's considered the museum of the Borromean family.
And of course they placed it here at the end of the staircase.
Exactly. So people could be directed immediately to this wing where they could admire this wonderful collection of artworks painted from the 15th to the 17th century. This gallery is a very good way to understand the Lombard period during the Renaissance. As I told you, this is the museum of the family. As you can see, the walls are totally covered in paintings. There is no empty space. This room is also where Louis Berthier slept for one night. He was the general of the Napoleon Bonaparte army, and that's why this gallery is also called the Berthier Gallery. I'll show you something unbelievable. The Queen's Room. Josephine de Beauharnais slept here, Napoleon's wife. Now look how beautiful these rooms are. They are communicating. There are 2 twin beds, so you could go from one room to the other. This room was especially made for the most important guests of that time. Besides Josephine de Beauharnais, the Queen of Italy and Maria Christina of Austria also slept here.
So many important guests.
So many important guests.
I already know you're going to tell me a lot of interesting things.
Then I'll show you the room where slept a guest that slept almost everywhere. This is the throne room. As you see, absolutely sober. A throne that doesn't seem to be very comfortable. Well, I was telling you the Borromeo family wasn't a royal family, so why did they have a throne? Look at those strange characters who seem to hold up the ceiling on their shoulders. If you focus on their faces, you can see they're talking to each other. Those sculptures explain the purpose of this room. It was the hearing room where politicians, ambassadors, and other important personalities were received, so the place where they talked about business. This one is the largest room of the palace. It's almost like going into a cathedral. This room is 75 feet high. Up there, you can have a glimpse of the private rooms on the second floor. Well, some of the 50 private rooms still used by the family. The light in this room is amazing. Do you see the beautiful colors, the windows, the symmetry? It's just the ballroom.
And this model?
You should picture this model oriented this way. That beautiful, majestic staircase and the balcony unfortunately no longer exist nowadays.
So we entered the palace the other side.
Yes, absolutely, where you see those arches. Actually, this room was supposed to be the main entrance to the building, so picture entering this way would have been the perfect way to immediately realize the magnificence and importance of the family.
Well, I have to say that also nowadays it's clearly shown.
Actually, you're right. Here we are inside the music room. This beautiful harpsichord dates back to 1692. It's an Italian instrument that has been renovated this year. But this room is much more important for its history. Right here, the peace conferences of Stresa was held. It was an attempt, unfortunately failed, of Italy, France, and Great Britain to oppose the come to power of Nazism in Germany. And now we see where a person slept who slept almost everywhere.
Let me guess, after the general and the wife, I would say Napoleon.
Exactly. He slept here in 1797. Here is a little curiosity. The Borromean family did not invite him. He just came to the island. So the servants had to prepare this room and also the room upstairs because he came here followed by more than 60 people, and they slept here only one night. Here we are in the ballroom. You should know that Lady Diana and Prince Charles ate here. In 1986, during one of their first trips to Italy, they were hosted inside the palace by the family. For the occasion, this room was turned into a dining room. This is the ground floor of the palace. Try to picture rooms decorated with igneous stone, marble, river pebbles. At that time, these rooms were also embellished with gushes of water and water games, so where do you think we are?
Suddenly I feel fresher.
Yes, it was the fresher part of the palace. Let's call it the air conditioning of the time. During the hot summer days, the Borromeans could get here from the garden and enjoy this fresh room thanks to the thickness of the walls and the kind stone from which they are made, particularly recommended for this purpose. Here you can see 6 Flemish tapestries that date back 1565. They're older than the palace. So, Stefano, I show you the peculiarity of the last tapestry. You see a lion crossing the river. Now focus on the river. It flows this way, then you see the river coming towards you. If you move on slowly while you are watching it, it seems that the river follows you. It flows with you. And then you reach the entrance to the garden, you see the current of the river has changed direction.
It seems like it's flowing the opposite direction.
Exactly.
So this is the theater.
This is the theater, the area of the garden called Teatro Massimo, and has the shape of an amphitheater. There are several statues that represent the 4 classical elements: air, earth, fire, water. There are obelisks, and there you can see the unicorn, the heraldic symbol of the family. And down there is the area of the garden with those little labyrinths and the water lily pond. It's called the Garden of Love. Here on the ISOLA MADRE, you can feel how much the temperature changes. It's 4 degrees warmer than the ISOLA Bella, which is really close, by the way. This side of the island is called the African Avenue. Thanks to this microclimate, especially in the winter, the warm air on the lake rises and protects the island as if it was a kind of natural greenhouse. Here we'll see many plants and flowers from all over the world. This is the rocky garden that leads to the ancient dock, used by the Borromean family to get onto the island. If you get a little bit closer, you can see the remains of a poeta, a Venetian boat similar to a gondola, used by the Borromeans to reach the island.
Which years are we talking about?
We are talking about the 19th century. This part of the garden is called the bulging floor because of those protuberances emerging from the meadow. Actually, they are the roots of the plant. This tree is a Tassodium distinctum, and the protuberances you see are like the plant's lungs. They allow it to breathe. We arrived at the chapel square. That one is the private chapel of the family built in the middle of the 19th century. As you can see, there is this beautiful pool that in the summertime hosts these beautiful tropical water lilies, and in the middle, also the papyrus.
The garden of the Isola Madre is one of the oldest botanical gardens in Italy. It's the result of a very successful interaction between man and nature, able to amaze the eyes of tourists as well as the ones of an expert botanist. But now it's time to say goodbye to the guide and get back to the mainland. See you next video. Italian Travel.